So you want to start making coffees, but you don't know whether you want to be a professional barista like fancy old me, or whether you want to sit back, relax, be a professional sipper and press a button and get the coffee made for you. Stick around because I'm going to show you both machines, this fully automatic one and the semi-automatic one, to help you decide which one's best for you. So let's check them out. G'day mate, I'm Raj, your coffee coach, and today I'm going to show you two different machines. A semi-automatic one, which means you have control. You've got to put the grind in the portafilter, you've got to tamp it, then you've got to extract it, then you've got to steam your milk, try and make the best of it, and you're in control of how that coffee comes out. Or you can put it in here, press a button, and get your coffee made for you just like that. And you can choose which one's best for you. Full disclosure, I got these machines on loan from KitchenAid. There's a fully automatic one and a semi-automatic one. I was loaned these machines by KitchenAid, but I wasn't paid to do this review. I get nothing out of it other than the satisfaction of knowing that you get to decide what the coffee machine is best for your home situation. Of course, if you want to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, I'd love to get that as well. Thanks a lot, champ. Now, let's talk first about the fully automatic one. Here I have what is called the KF6. It's a fully automatic machine. A full disclosure, I personally am not a fan of fully automatic machines. I've been a barista all my life and I prefer having full control over the coffees. I love making coffee every morning. Even though I've made a million coffees in my lifetime, I still prefer making my own coffee. But I do understand that some people out there have never dipped their toes into the coffee world, have never been a barista, and I've seen some of the coffees that some of you guys have made, and you should choose a fully automatic machine because that is no good. But of course, there's always a place for every machine. So I'm going to be reviewing this fully automatic machine from the position of someone who needs help making coffee and has no idea what they're doing. So yes, my preference is always make your own coffee. It's like having a microwave dinner versus cooking it up yourself, but there's a place for every machine and that's up to you to decide what you want. So the fully automatic machine here, it's a lovely looking machine here. Like, hello, this is lovely. It's a little bit big on the bulky side in terms of, you know, the semi-automatic machine. Now, this one doesn't come with a milk container, so you just have to put in your own milk and that can just go straight into the milk carton if you want to as well. Now, the way that this works is you just put in your beans into the hopper at the back here and water on the side, chuck that in your milk and press the button and away you go. Now, once you turn this on, takes about a minute to warm up, heat up, everything like that. Up top here, you have your grinder. And it's a small hopper, so you can put your beans in there, easily pop them in and take them out. If you want to, there's actually a pre-ground chute as well, which means that you can put in pre-ground coffee, like a once-off scoop of pre-ground coffee to make that. Why would you need that? Because perhaps you're having some friends around and they like decaf coffee and you don't want to have to swap your beans out and put in your decaf beans. You can pre-grind your decaf beans and then pop a scoop in here and then make your coffee on your decaf or any other single origin or whatever other coffee you want to do and have your main beans in here. Now, I would always recommend using fresh beans and grinding fresh, but there is that option to use pre-ground beans anyway. On the side here is a nice water container, very easy to get to, and you can see the level here, tells you when it's running low. You're probably going to get about 8 to 12 coffees out of it, small coffees, before you have to refill it anyway. So it's a decent sized water tank. And another little neat feature is this quiet mark here. So this is becoming quite important to a lot of people, is having a quiet coffee machine. Definitely some of the grinders out there are extremely loud. This one is nice and silent. I've measured it. It's about 60 decibels, which is about this level of conversation that we're having now. Probably I'm a little bit louder because I'm a big foghorn voice, but it's generally speaking going to be quiet enough not to wake up your neighbors, not to wake up your partner or your flatmate. It's quite nice, and you'll hear it in a second. It is quite quiet. Quieter than that motorbike that's interrupting our filming, that's for sure. When you turn it on, takes about a minute to heat up, and then you can see all of the coffees that you can make out of this machine. So starting with an espresso shot, you just cycle through here, cappuccino, cafe latte. It doesn't do flat white. However, the cafe latte doesn't have any froth on it. It's just flat anyway, so it's basically a flat white. The cappuccino has a bunch of froth on it. I personally just prefer just making the cafe latte flat white. But it also has macchiato. It has latte macchiato, which is a bit of like a longer macchiato. and then Americano, which is your long blacks, and then coffee. This is a coffee machine. This is coffee. It makes coffee. There's a coffee called coffee. Guys, what are we doing here? But what it actually is just a really long shot. I mean, like 140 mils plus. You can make it up yourself, but it's just bitter and nothing. If you want to have a long black, have Americano. It gives you a normal dose, and then it puts hot water on the top. So you actually get a nice tasting coffee. The coffee tastes awful. Don't try it. Warm milk, if you're making a hot chocolate or something like that. Hot water, if you're making a tea. Now, even though it's fully automatic, you can adjust some of the preferences to your coffee. When you select your coffee, you get in an extra menu, and you can see the strength, and there's 3 beans, so there's single bean, 2 beans, 3 beans. There's the temperature. So this is the temperature of the water going through it. So this is probably not that important to you. If you're having milk as well, it often affects the temperature of the milk. It isn't hot. This is one thing. Hot temperature is not that hot. It's probably just normal drinking temperature. But yes, obviously, if you're using light beans in here, what would you? If you're using dark beans, you can change the temperature so that you can adjust it based on what type of beans you use, as well as you can set a single shot or a double shot. That is important because sometimes you have a bigger cup, and this is where you can get deeper into the preferences. There's a little menu button that goes in, gives you the option of dosing out a particular volume. So let's say you want to have a big mug of coffee, and this adjusts up there so you can fit a big mug underneath, or you can fit a little espresso shot. It's lovely that you can adjust that. Let's say you want to have a really big coffee. Well, you can put in your coffee volume and make it 30 mils. You can make it right up to 80 mils. So a lot of coffee. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a good extraction if you put it that high, because if you've still selected single shot, it's going to be dosing around that 10 grams of coffee, and then you're going to be getting 80 mils out, which is like a 1:8 ratio. So it's going to be extremely bitter and not very good coffee. So just be aware, you can make your coffee volume. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best coffee. As I said before, you can set single dose or double dose. Last things that you can adjust is the body. And there's 3 settings. There's a light, a medium, and a strong. Now, what do they mean? I mean, I had a look around all over to try and find what this body means, what is actually adjusting, and in terms of the beans as well, what they actually adjust. Maybe I had a boy look. I don't know. Guys, I tried my best. I'm just a boy. But I decided to do my own tests to see what is actually going on when I make the changes to the body and to the beans. And this is what I found. I've run about 20 to 30 different coffees through here. I've tasted them all. I weighed the beans in. I weighed the volume of the espresso shot out. I even timed it. And I also tasted every single coffee. So now my brain is fried, and probably so is my heart. But hopefully I can explain to you and make this useful to somebody who's also looking for this information now that it actually exists. But this is what I've found. When you adjust the strength, single bean, 2 beans, 3 beans, it actually doses up the volume of grinds going in. So a normal shot would be like 9 grams, then the middle bean would be 10 grams, and then the 3 beans is 11 grams. That's what I've calculated. Now, the body, it might also adjust the pre-infusion, but it runs the water through the shot. So the more body you have on it, the more water you're running through the shot. And you can see that in the pucks. I can see I get a quite brittle puck when I have a light body, and I have a quite nice, beautiful puck when it might also adjust the pre-infusion, but it runs the water through the shot. So the more body you have on it, the more water you're running through the shot. And you can see that in the pucks. I can see I get a quite brittle puck when I have a light body, and I have a quite nice, beautiful puck when I have a big one, which means that there's had more water going through it. It's quite a lot larger as well. So it's had time to swell up and pull out some of that body. I suspect it's actually to do with the pre-infusion and the volume of water, because even when you set your shot to 2 times and you want to put a 20-gram shot of coffee in and 40 mils out, I've noticed that sometimes it's running up to 50 mil out because I've got that strength up to 3. So that's what it does. It definitely does make it more intense. And if you're wanting to have the most coffee tasting coffee, then I would set it to 3 beans and strong body. Anyway, that's what I've discovered. If anyone else has got any other information out there, then you can let me know. Now, the other thing that you can do is on the side here, it has a access to adjust the grinds. Now, this is important because generally speaking, when it came shipped, it was just in the middle, and I ran a couple of shots through and they were pretty average, like very light. I mean, if you want a milky coffee, then they're fine. They're not extracting a lot of oils. So I turned it down to the lowest setting, the smallest setting. There's only 7 settings, by the way, guys. There's not many options here. But you turn it down to the smallest. I started to get some good, heavy-bodied coffee. So that's something to really note on the side. And also there's a QR code that you can scan there to take you to the manual, which basically gives you more cleaning instructions than it does menu instructions. But that's just my opinion. Now, once you've set those parameters to what you want, you can then save it to your profile. There's 4 different profiles, there's 4 different users in there, and you can then go in and say, like, I like my coffee nice and light. I don't want it to be too bitter. I just want it to be nice and smooth. You can set that, save that, and then you know, I'm user 1, come in, press profile 1, great. Now my coffees are saved under there. So I have my cafe latte, I can add an extra drink, I can add an espresso, change the parameters to that, and that's gonna change it just for my coffee. Otherwise, it just defaults to whatever the last setting was, and you just can go from there. Now, making a milk drink, super easy. You just chuck it under there, put this into your milk jug, and here I'm just gonna use this as my my milk receptacle. Choose latte, press that, choose the strength, choose all my parameters, press play, and away it goes. And it just makes everything for you. It pulls the milk out here for you. See how nice and quiet that is? Pulls all the milk in, and once it's done, you do have to just rinse this milk line here because it does get blocked over time. So you want to do a quick little one after every use, and it shows you, tells you how to do that. It's very easy. Just need a receptacle to catch all the water as it flushes it. Every now and then do a deep clean of the milk cycle as well, just so that gunk doesn't stay in that line there. And if you want to, you can just press here to go into your milk options and just clean it. If you say you don't want to do it now, you can do it later. It will flash when it hasn't been cleaned as well. In the settings, it has just your normal settings in there, so it can change the color profile, it can put sounds on, you can tell it how long before it goes into standby, and that's pretty much it. Does it make the best coffee? No, it doesn't, and in my opinion. But it makes a very easy coffee, very simple and clean, no mess, so that's a bonus, and something that's nice and simple. You can adjust the volumes of the milk as well, so you can have it be a large cup or a small cup, or if you just want a small, tiny dash of milk, it has that in there as well. There you go, that's it made. Takes about a minute. That's a good coffee. Does it make a great black coffee? Not really. I really feel like you need the semi-automatic to do that, but let's check out the semi-automatic now and you can make up your mind. Today, I'm going to take you through all the special features of this semi-automatic machine from KitchenAid. This is not a sponsored video. I don't get anything in return for doing this review other than the machine to review it, and I want to give it away to one of you guys, to the community, for watching this video. So wherever you are in Australia, I want you to take this home with you and put it next to your KitchenAid toaster, your KitchenAid mixer, or just start a new bench of KitchenAid stuff for your home. So if you like this machine, stick around and I'll show you how to win it. But also don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot, champion. And also, if you're watching this on your mobile, there's a little button along the top there called the hype button. And if you press that, it just helps this video go a bit further out there, reach a few more people out there in the world, just so I can help my channel grow, make more videos like this and give away these machines to people like yourself. So firstly, let's talk about the look and feel of this design. It's a solid machine. I like this metal casing on the outside here. It doesn't feel plasticky. This portafilter, super solid. That actually is one of my favorite things. It's a 58 mil portafilter. Unlike some of the other appliance machines, they don't have a 58 mil commercial style portafilter. This one does, and I actually love that. Now, there's a caveat. I'm not a fan of appliance machines. I'm doing this because I know a lot of you out there don't have the budget to buy a $2,000, $3,000 coffee machine, or don't even want to. Maybe you're not into the coffee that much. I am, so that makes sense to me, but for you, maybe something at the lower end, it helps. And I get that there's a place for appliances. So I'm going to be reviewing this with the mindset of it being an appliance. I'm not comparing it to my prosumer machines. I'm not comparing it to the commercial machines, but also this, for its price point, what you get and how solid it is. It's tidy enough that it fits on your bench space without taking up too much room. I also love that this comes in a whole different range of colors. So it's got the cream, it's got the black, it's got the stainless steel, it's got the green here, as you can see, and it has a red. So if you have the matching KitchenAid appliances, there's probably a color that matches your appliance out there. And if they're not, you can just go with the stainless steel. But it is a solid machine, and it actually looks quite nice. Like in terms of comparatively to some of the other appliance machines out there, this looks way better than the others. Let's first talk about the grinder. So the grinder can be used whilst you're heating up. So even though it only takes about 20 seconds to heat up, if you want to get prepped, you can do this and start grinding your coffee straight away. Bear in mind though, that this is solid stainless steel and that won't be hot. So if you're going to use it straight out of the gate, as soon as it's ready, that is going to take away from some of the heat that's trying to extract your oils and sugars from your coffee, and it's actually going to taste a little bit under extracted. But I always prefer to run a shot through just to make sure that I've heated this up. I'll usually put that on my garden or something like that so it doesn't go to waste. And usually that just gets rid of any of the excess grinds or any of the beans that are sitting in the hopper down the bottom, which might be from a couple of days ago or a day ago, and they're a little bit on the stale side now. As it comes with a little handy tamper, not a bad little tamper, it's not great, but you can always upgrade your tampers. That's super easy. Now my machine's ready to go. Straight away it's ready to go, and I just select the coffee there, and now just pop that on there, and I can run my coffee through. So as I said, this is going to be a little bit on the under extracted side, only because that is completely cold. So even though the machine is ready with the water, the actual portafilter isn't ready. But now that's a bit warmer. So that's just getting your portafilter ready. But let's talk more about this grinder, because there are some things I love about it and there are some things that I don't really love about it. One of the things I love about this grinder is that it's actually conical Burr grinder inside. There's pretty much a straight line path straight into the portafilter. So you just pop your portafilter in there and you can press the button. It's pretty darn quiet, and that's why it's won the quiet mark here, because that is a lot quieter than pretty much every other grinder out there in the market. Not every, but I've measured it and it's come to about 60 decibels. 60 decibels is the level of a conversation, so you can see that it's not much louder, and that is an actual concern for a lot of people. If you're in an apartment or a small place, or you're getting up super early and your partner is still asleep and you don't want to wake them up, I would recommend this machine based on that, because this is much quieter than the other grinders that I've used, especially in the appliance market. So that's a big plus. The other great thing about it is that the grinds are actually incredible. For an appliance machine, I'm really fond of this grinder. There's very little clumping, that is very even, and you're getting a really good consistent grind across the entire dose. There isn't much information on the grinders that they've used in here, so I don't know where those grinders came from, if they're built in-house or they're off-market, but they are fantastic. Now, your range of grinds along here is a little bit limited, and also I think you've got 15 different steps across there. It is a stepped grinder, you can feel it clicking there, but there's 15 there, which is not a huge amount to play around with. You know, it is only doing espresso, but I would love it to be a stepless grinder. What I like to do though is I like to open it up, and there's a way you can actually open it up in here and take the hopper out, and you can take out the top burr set, which I'd like to do if you want to clean. I recommend that you do it all the time anyway. But you can then change this grind settings to offset it a little bit, and it's got 8 settings there. So technically it's not 8 times 15, it's kind of like it shifts it between, but it does give you a bit more granularity in terms of refining that. This is a common thing, not with just this appliance, but with all appliance coffee machines and their grinders. They don't give you as many steps as you might want to need to hone in on your coffee. That being said, I've very easily managed to find a nice grind setting that I could get some really good, because it's got a 3-way solenoid valve and it's a decent pump pressure. It's going to get way up there to 12, 15 bars of pressure. Even if you grind the coffee too fine, the actual machine isn't going to choke. It's not going to just clog up and not be able to push through the coffee. It does push it through, and that is great because you can use much finer grind, like commercial size grind on here, and it will still work. One of the other things it has here is a dial that allows you to set the dosage. So this is how much coffee is getting ground into your portafilter. And that can be on the left side here, it says 1 cup, on the right side it says 2 cups. It's a bit meaningless, and there's dots around there so you can show where it is, but it doesn't really give you much information. I'd much rather a timed one that says that this is running for 10 seconds and this is 20 seconds. I guess once you get used to it, it's actually going to be all right and you won't have to play around with it too much. But I have it somewhere on the double setting because this is a double basket anyway. All right, here's something to be wary of. If you haven't got it quite set on one of the notches, like you just turn it a little bit, it actually won't grind. And you just got to make sure that you actually sit it on one of those notches. You'll feel it click into place before it starts grinding. It's a tiny thing, but it's something that I have noticed. I have been careless with selecting the grind sizes, and then one day I was just completely confused. Pressing the button didn't work, and I didn't know what I was doing. But in the manual, it does actually say, make sure it's on the notch, otherwise it just doesn't work. So all in all, I think the grinder is fantastic. It doesn't have a huge amount of space in here, the hopper, but I like that because you don't want to store coffee in your hopper. You want to be able to take it out, put it back in your bag or in your canister, keep it in an airtight container, not in the sunlight, not directly exposed to all the elements. That's a bad way to store your coffee. It does leave coffee in here, so it's not going to be a great for single dosing if you're going to try and swap coffee beans out of time. To clean the birds, it's actually super easy. You just need to take some of these out. Don't try and pull the top part out without getting rid of all those beans in there. And you want to make sure that when you put the coffee in, empty this out, you grind that last bit of coffee that's in there before you pull out the burrs, because otherwise you will end up with beans and grind at the very bottom underneath, and you won't be able to get your burr set back in. Trust me, I learned the hard way. One thing, when it's flashing like this, it means it won't work. That took me for a while to realize that the hopper actually needs to be closed. It doesn't have an indicator saying that the hopper's open. It's a safety feature, obviously, but it doesn't let you grind when the hopper is closed or not on here. The other thing that's a little bit annoying is there's no numbers along here, so you don't actually know what grind setting you're on. Even though there's numbers on the burr set from 1 to 8, would have been nice to have just 1 to 15 here anyway. When your kids are around and they come up and they go, oh, love this feels good, and you don't remember if you had it somewhere there or a bit over here, you're just going to remember if you had it on 4 or you had it on 8 or 15 or whatever you have it on, you're going to remember that number even if you knock it. Whereas this, you're just not going to remember, did I have it here? Did I have it there? So that's just a tiny little thing, but again, why couldn't they have just put numbers along there? But having said all of that, I actually find that this grinder was lovely to use. Love the grinds there. And this isn't a machine that's really trying to hone in and find that perfect espresso, but they've done a fantastic job of this grinder already. So across the front here, they've got a couple of different options. You can select whether it's doing coffee extraction, steam, or water across there. And one thing I do love about it is that it's almost instant water. So whilst it takes a while for the coffee to be ready, you can turn it off, and from off to on, if you select go over to water, it's instantly ready. It means you can make a cup yourself a tea straight away. I love that. I think that's a really good idea. But if you want to go to coffee, it takes a little while and you have to wait for the thermometer icon here to stop flashing, and then it's ready. Now, because it's a thermo block setup, it doesn't have the ability to do espresso and milk at the same time. However, changing between espresso and milk isn't that long, so it's probably about 20 seconds. And then changing it down, it's going to have to cool down a little bit, so it does take a couple of seconds for it to do that. It just releases some of the pressure and then it cools it back down again. One thing that's really great about this design is that it has the volumetric button, so you can dose 1 or 2 coffees depending on if you're doing a double shot or a single shot, large or small, whatever you want to call it. They are volumetric, which means the volume of water is what matters, not the time. So unlike a couple of the other appliance machines, which are just timers, and you press it and it says, I'm going to run water through this machine for 30 seconds. That's no good if you've got really fine grinds here and you need to collect all of those extra oils and sugars. You need to have it as a volumetric. So volumetric means it's going to pass a certain amount of water through the coffee puck before stopping. And those buttons are programmable. So you can actually set them to whatever your desired amount is. Like, let's say you want to have a shorter extraction at the 1. Maybe you want to have a slightly shorter extraction at the 2. You can do that and I'll show you how to do that. Just be aware, the default settings, single shot, the number 1, actually gives you about the same volume of output that you need for a double shot. So it's about 30 grams, and this is an 18-gram basket, so it's giving you about 35 grams of water, liquid coffee out. And there's 2 on default gives you 60 grams out, which is far too much. It's more like a lungo, that traditional Italian lungo. Be very bitter, very hollow tasting. So if you're going to use this straight out of the gate, those are the default settings, and you're better off just doing your first one if you know a little bit about coffee and programming it yourself. Across the bottom here, We've got the temperature gauge. I know everyone's interested in these PIDs, which is great for temperature of water stability. You do not need to have this on this type of machine. I just feel like it's unnecessary because low, medium, high temperature, unless you're playing around with light roasted coffees, you're not going to be using this machine. And if you're doing dark roasted coffees, yeah, you might be using the machine. But if you're doing mostly just that middle of the road, medium roasted coffee, which is probably what everyone or 99% of people are using these days, you're just going to need it on the medium setting anyway. Maybe medium to hot, but you're very rarely going to need to play around with it. So it just feels like this is going to be superfluous, but it's there if you want to for whatever reason. Now, it might be useful for your steam water. I haven't tested the measures. Don't forget, kids, you got to test the measures. So one thing it might be useful for is your tea. Maybe it's better to have it up hot and you have the hot water come out there. Maybe it does an actual higher temperature. I'm not sure, but even so, like cycling through them doesn't make this flash. So this is not changing much, so probably within a degree or two, and you're not going to be able to notice the difference in your coffee anyway. So just leave it on the middle for most of it. And then they've got the descale button here, which is a great little way to do the descale. Comes with that. You just pop it in, press the descale, it will do a couple of flushes, cycles, then you just rinse out the water and run a water flushing cycle through, and then you're ready to go again. But that should only need to be done every couple of months, and it will usually indicate when it's ready after you've done a certain number of coffees through it. As I mentioned before, the portafilter is a professional portafilter. It's actually amazingly well designed. I really love it. I love the design. It's a little bit plasticky on the handle, but it's very solid. I love that little stainless steel part there. One thing I love about it is it sits flat on the bench. So you don't have to worry about getting it on the side of the bench anymore. You can just sit it down flat and then you can tamp it there. Much more user-friendly. It does have a couple of weird little plasticky things on the bottom there. If you don't like your plastic, you can actually take these baskets out. And there's a couple of little O-rings in here, which are super easy to get out. You know, you can just hook your fingernails in there and pull these little O-rings out. And then that just releases the little plastic part in there and you can pull that out. If you wanted to, you could even upgrade your baskets and get some more precision baskets. I have tested a couple of different precision baskets in there if you want to get better baskets than this one. Also, it means you can upgrade your basket. But just be aware, some of the baskets don't always fit. Around this little lip here, some of the baskets have a shallower lip and they won't actually sit into place. The generic ones and some of the Lamazocco ones, they fit nicely and you can get a deeper basket. So you could get a 25 gram. This is an 18 gram, 7.5 gram. And they have a couple of other baskets with them in here, stored neatly in the back of the tray, which I really love. These are for your pre-ground, so you're probably not going to need to use them as it's got a built-in grinder. And then you have a single one here. If you're really desperate and you want to just make a single coffee, you can use that. But I would recommend just using the double basket, just dosing it a little bit lower, just because this actually has a more straight-edged basket, which makes it easier to tamp, makes it more even in the extraction as well. One last thing I want to talk about is the steam wand. Steam wand is okay. It's not powerful, but maybe if you're new to coffee, you don't want it to be powerful. I prefer it to be powerful. I want it to whip around. I want it to create some nice fluffy milk. It does do a good job, but only in a small amount. So if you want to do a jug that's bigger than that, you're going to have to be really careful about how you do it. Otherwise, you're just going to get screaming, cold, flat milk, and it won't be nice and fluffy at all. Let's go ahead and make a coffee on it, and I'll show you how easy it is to make a good coffee. So I'm going to weigh this only because I like to do it. You don't have to weigh it at home, but just I like to know how my thing is dosing, and I want to know if it's close to the right amount and it's coming through at the right time. And I also want to show you, because I'm going to dose the volume, I'm going to show you exactly what to do to create your own profiles. So it's 19 grams, so it's a little bit on the high side, so I'm going to get rid of some of that. There we go, 18, perfect. Should drop down just to about that lip there. Now, I'm going to weigh the volume out. I'm going to show you how easy it is to set this extraction here. So you're aiming for 36 grams out, so 18 gram in, double the amount out in about 30 seconds. So let's get a 30-second timer up and let's go. Now you want to press this and hold this button, and that'll set this. So you make sure it's on 2, and now we're going to set this volume. Now Now, if I got it right, this pressure gauge should hit somewhere in the middle of that range. There we go. It's a little bit lower, but I can see that shot's coming out a little bit on the fast side, actually. We're at 20 grams, and we want to be hitting 36. There we go. In, okay, 23 seconds, a little bit on the low side. So as you can see, the pressure was a bit low. Need to make this finer. But we got the volume out, and now that's set. So when I press that again next time and adjust this volume of dose, I need to increase the actual dosage as well if I make it finer. But when I press that, it's going to deliver the same amount of volume that created that 36 gram, or ended up being 40 grams out, which is perfect for what I want. Now steaming, so click over to steam, give it a couple of seconds to get ready. Everything requires you to press this button, so once that little light stops flashing, I can start my milk steaming. Now that it's ready, I can start steaming. Feels to me like they could have pumped it up a little bit more, and maybe it's something they can do, but if I wanted to make a bigger jug of milk, that's just going to take too long. Okay, that's pretty good. It's pretty hot now, but that did take a long time. And you can flush it, which is nice. I like that. I don't like machines where as soon as you stop it, it just releases all the pressure and then you can't flush the steam one. But this is because this has a 3-way solenoid valve, so it does actually need to be flushed. Pour this and get some nice, pretty latte art. Whoa. Yeah, it looks more like a turkey, but it's not the perfect jug for doing your latte art. That's not what it's here for. It's just to get you started. Pretty good. A little bit on the light side, but you know, I knew it was under-extracted, so it's a little bit lighter. I just would do that again, make it a bit finer, and do it again. Now, you want to learn how to win this for your home, mate? All you got to do is tell me why this particular one would look great in your home. Like perhaps you have the matching mixer, perhaps you have the matching toaster, perhaps you have the color of your kitchen, maybe you just have a shirt like me. Whatever your reason is, pop it in the comment section below, and I'm going to choose one at random at the end of the month, and you are going to get this along with the coffee that we made on this today, which is my new Il Caramello. New packaging here. It's gorgeous, isn't it? This is Il Caramello. It's caramelly, malty goodness, just perfect for your morning lattes and flat whites, cappuccinos, whatever you drink. Even good as a long black. That is also going to be sent along with the coffee machine for you to drink, care of me and KitchenAid, because they gave me this to review and I'm giving it to you to have. I'm Ryan, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew. And I also want to show you how to do dough that, the reason, oh, no, I did the wrong one. Don't do water, guys. Actually, just cut that bit out. Don't worry about that. I already said it. You can just leave it in, I guess, because I might say it better sometimes. Perhaps you have the mixing, matching. And I'm going to be giving that, oh no, I'm not going to give that away.